What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at Manchester United versus Wolves in the English Premier League. And before we start, check out Keyframe. It's how I made this video, and check out my book. All the links to those items are in the description below. Be sure to check them out. I think you'll really enjoy it if you like tactical content like this video. So let's get right into it. Manchester United built in their defensive third relatively easily, with Raphael Varane making his debut and Harry Maguire being his center back partnership on the left hand side. Now in the middle we see Fred and Pogba starting alongside each other. Pogba moving into a deeper role for this match, moving away from the left side midfield position he has been playing, and this deeper position suited him in a few different ways that we'll look at tactically what that meant for Manchester United going forward. Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka wide areas in Manchester United's 2-4-3-1 build-up shape, and this looked to be stopped by Wolves' 5-2-3 in their defensive phase, setting up their 2/3 press or their mid-block shape and quickly moving into a 5-4-1 when the ball was moved into their half. So Wolves' press looked to set central pressing traps to win the ball in the half spaces and shifting into the wide areas to then apply a heavy amount of pressure, and the 5-man back line of Wolves was very effective covering the space in between the lines. Manchester United had the most success when they were able to attract the pressure in the first third of the field and get Wolves to bait into the build-up. So this would open up space for players like Mason Greenwood or Bruno Fernandes higher up the field, and it would draw Wolves' press further forward and overextend their two holding midfielders. So the holding midfielders couldn't jump into the wide areas too quickly because of Mason Greenwood, Bruno Fernandes, and the inverted wingers of Manchester United. But here, Daniel James stays in the wide area, creating dual width, which pins the wing back, preventing any player from jumping. So what this results in is Aaron Wan-Bissaka becoming free and able to then progress the ball further forward. So now we can see the 5-4-1 as possession is moved into Wolves' half, or just before possession is moved into Wolves' half. So we see here they set up with the weak side player cheating further forward, just at the top of our screen here. Now we see the difference in tactics in Paul Pogba's deeper positioning alongside Fred. So what this meant for Manchester United is they went with more of a double pivot, with then two central defenders in behind them, Aaron Wan-Bissaka often joining as the third central defender in an asymmetric back four. In this case, he varies his positioning to create dual width on this right hand side. And what this meant for Manchester United is they lost a lot going forward, because as we see a trend for Manchester United is they struggle to take advantage of the space in between the lines and in the half space. As we see here, it's completely vacant in a very dangerous area, and this is due to the fact that Bruno Fernandes likes to work off of Mason Greenwood and his central striker partnership and make these curved runs in behind to access the space in behind. But what they miss is a player here to draw out the defenders, emphasize that space in behind. So although he does make really well-timed runs in the blind side of the defenders just off their shoulder, it could even be more effective if they had someone in the half space to draw out a central defender and break the connections of the defensive line to then overemphasize the space for Bruno Fernandes to run into. Then we see on the weak side, Jadon Sancho here being that player occupying the space between the lines, but ineffective in this situation because of the positioning of the ball and the general move of the attack. Where Ronaldo will fit in, he'll definitely be the highest player furthest forward, playing as a true number 9, more typically playing off the shoulder of the defenders, not too often coming deeper, but he does have the capability to come deeper back towards the ball to hopefully pull out a defender and then Bruno Fernandes to run in behind. I think that Ronaldo's presence, if they use him to draw out defenders for Bruno Fernandes to make runs off of him, will be crucial. And then in the final third, Ronaldo playing on the weak side of the defenders and then giving him a good positioning to create positional and dynamic superiority to run into the box on the blind side of defenders, and he might be the best in the world at making runs inside the box in those 5 to 10 yard runs and finding space and exploiting it in dangerous situations. And now in the same sequence we have our two central defenders for Manchester United, our two holding midfielders, Paul Pogba favoring the right half space, but now we see the two attacking players, the center striker and the center attacking mid, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Greenwood dropping and Fernandes running in behind. And what this happens is Daniel James also running in behind, creating a vertical connection. But what all this does is it creates a lack of presence between the lines, as we had just talked about. This is the same sequence now, but we can even see the overemphasized space in this dangerous area, which has nothing to draw the defenders further forward to then invite pressure, and even their midfielder is drawn out, so vertical partnerships usually work in the sense the central defender will then jump to maintain vertical compactness, but there's no one there that could be a threat to Wolves' defense, so he's more than capable of staying in this defensive line and conceding this space between the lines because it's not accessible to any Manchester United players. In the second half, it was more of the same with the two central defenders in the build-up, the dual width on this right-hand side, very vertical connections, no staggering between these two players, and now we see the over-occupation of the central corridor and the weak side. Everybody playing the blind side of their defender, waiting for a ball in behind or a ball into the wide area, but in the midfield third, pretty ineffective, and where I think Ronaldo can come in and make a big difference if he is this player to drop between the lines, not so much to receive the ball, but more so to get a defender to jump higher with him, to then create space in behind for then these players to run into, have more space to emphasize, and have Pogba then be the player playing these passes. And then with Ronaldo in this position, it gives him a good position to be able to run into the box unmarked in between the midfielders and defensive line, to then get on the end of crosses and cutbacks and score goals. So that's one way to look at it. Or if Scott McTominay comes back in the team, then Paul Pogba can be this player occupying the space between the lines, and then Ronaldo can pick a blind side of a defender, so when the ball is progressed, then Ronaldo is on the weak side to finish the attacking move. Wolves in possession in the first third of the field. They went with a very deep positioning in their build-up, so with three central defenders it creates an overload, so they had to have two central defenders committed to one side on the right-hand side, and one on the left, with the wing-back dropping very deep to then overextend the United press. So this created an overload around Bruno Fernandes, the number 10, which then left Ruben Neves free as a source to then break the press in Manchester United's high block in their 4-2-3-1. And it's important to take note, when Paul Pogba plays in this defensive midfield position, he often gets dragged out too wide to then put himself in a bad position to cover the press further in front of him. Where Ronaldo will come into play, he'll be the number 9, will just try and prevent the team from circulating play, and he won't be asked to have much of a defensive role, and I don't think this will be too much of an issue for him in the Manchester United team, because they don't press very high that often. They certainly don't do that the whole game, but playing in this role, he'll be able to just look to cut off circulation around the first line of defense, and hopefully they can set more pressing traps in their midfield third around players like Fred and McTominay. Moving deeper, Manchester United play a 4-4-2, as we see here with Mason Greenwood, Bruno Fernandes being as the two forwards, expecting Ronaldo to fill this role, but in the midfield they become very man-oriented. As we see, the connections that the players make are very long in distance, and this is drawn because the wide midfielders eager to press and put pressure on the wide center backs if they receive the ball and progress. So the wide back four for Wolves in their offensive setup with their three central defenders, and they went with three central midfielders, but oftentimes Coutinho positioning himself higher between the lines would often come deeper alongside Ruben Neves to then allow Traore to access this left half space and make runs, because when he gets 1v1 and gets space to turn and run, he is extremely dangerous. So Coutinho moving more central to vacate the space, or moving deeper to then pull the Manchester United midfielders further forward, creates a good situation for Adama Traore to then get space between the lines and be able to run at the Manchester United defense more centrally. So we can see that here. He's 1v1 with Wan-Bissaka, and Wolves looking to exploit this qualitative superiority that they have with Adama Traore when he's getting the ball, and this is all lined up when the wide midfielders are drawn now to the wing backs because of the lack of drive from the central defenders driving further forward. So when the defenders stay home in a back three and play into a deeper wing back, the Manchester United wingers then press the wing backs in the Manchester United 4-4-2, which then disconnects just a little bit the wide midfielder and the fullback of Manchester United, which then gives Adama Traore more space to work as he comes infield into this half space, creating a midfield four and an asymmetric midfield box, really looking to then create spacing behind for them and to get the ball and be able to beat his man and run into and attack more defenders. When Wolves were able to progress the ball with their central defender being more aggressive and pin Manchester United into their 4-4-2 low block, we saw now Ruben Neves, being the lone holding midfielder, look to collect second balls and shield his defenders against the transition, and they have heavy occupation between the lines, varying runners to then get inside the box. The players favor this positioning off the defenders to then get good momentum going forward, and what this does is it pulls the Manchester United defensive line a little further out, which then, by pulling the Manchester United defensive line further forward in the low block, this creates a lot of space for the Wolves team to attack and puts the crossing player in good position to whip a ball in behind the defense onto late runners entering the box. So this is good deliberate positioning from Wolves when the ball goes into a wide area. And this is where we're going to wrap up the analysis for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one.